Hello and welcome everyone, I'm C.S.Gilmore and this is Powerwash Simulator. So, you've probably been seeing a lot of arc raiders and maybe a bit of a skip from Tarkov by this point. I'm not sure, I went on a bit of a extraction shooter kick. I do intend to finish all the missions in arc raiders if I can. I believe it's entirely possible, from what I've seen, and I don't believe I'm going to finish Escape from Tarkov though, because that game's ridiculous. But still, I wanted to put some episodes into it and give it a go, especially since it hit that 1.0 release. Um, and I know some of you who don't care about that type of thing are possibly getting a little bored of seeing all those at the time you see this episode. I want you to rest assured, I am recording other things as well here and there. I plan to go back and get to an ending of Hollow Knight. And I just haven't gotten around to sitting down and recording that right now. And I do intend to record just other things in general. I recently just finished recording 3 episodes for a game called shoot, I forgot the name now. Home Support Hotline, something along those lines. Anyway, Home Help Hotline. Now, what was it? Either way, just blanked on the name. But I've been working on things, and I think you'll like some of them. Should be fun. Today we're going to jump into some of this, though. Is this the Dirt Finder General? I've been given your details by the mayor as a person who can wash things and keep the dirt to themselves. Meet Holy Moly, my subterranean mining unit. It's a one-man excavator that I use to scour beneath the Earth's crust for viable mineral deposits. Well, not me personally, I just tell them where to dig. Anyway, you may find some unusual mineral traces during the clean. Please dispose of these judiciously. So yeah, anyway, taking some easy days here. I've kind of been taking a bit of a break now from all those extraction shooters that I've been recording. I've recorded over 20 episodes, I believe, for Arc Raiders now, and at least 5 episodes for Escape from Tarkov. Oh, right. It looks like there's going to be some rust and stuff I have to take off of this, but the general dirt doesn't look too bad, at least. I love the look of this thing. And there's our gnome watcher right up there. But yeah, so I wanted to cover all that and just, let you know stuff's coming. I'm still working on other things other than extraction shooters. Really, I just, there's so many things and so little time. And so it's hard to complete all the games I want to and just keep moving and not always get stuck bogged down on stuff. Given that, there's so many games coming out all the time that I want to play so many things and do so many things and share so many things with you that I just haven't had time to do that as much as I would like it. Right. I feel like there's probably more I could say here, but for now, for the sake of moving on with things, let's move on. So the main thing I want to talk about today with all of this is one of those Tales from the Gilded Gob type of situations. You see, I was thinking about what could I talk about today, and yeah, I haven't done a Tales from the Gilded Gob bit in a while, so I want to talk about using a home. Using homes in your games for your roleplay, that sort of deal. Now, homes, you can take that in so many different ways. A lot of DMs may use a home against a player in a lot of cases, as like, oh yes, horrible things have happened. Your family has been taken captive, or that sibling you liked has now gone rogue and is after you. Things like that. There's lots of ways that those can get used, but I mean, at the same time, it also gives your player, your character, motivation. Are you going out on adventures to earn money for your family who's otherwise destitute? And in fact, that gives your DM a great way for your character to potentially grow What if while you were gone, someone else has been stealing the money you send them, and now you have to go get it back because you get a letter from them finally going, "Hey, we're in dire straits. Hope you're alive and doing well. You said you were going to send something, and then oh well, we haven't got anything." Now you've got some reason to look into your character's backstory and develop your character more, while also giving the DM something to throw at the party for challenges. Maybe a good way to introduce either a side quest while they file out some details on the main stuff, or to give your character some time to shine. It can also be a great time for the DM to introduce new bad guys, change things up, like especially if you're dealing uh with like the same type of enemy all the time, it can get boring or at least nowhere near as exciting for a lot of the party members. So this is a great opportunity for the DM to go, yeah, let's throw something else here. Let's throw some bandits into our mess of demons. I'm kind of thinking of the earlier seasons of Supernatural, for example. Start off amazing with like, oh hey, today we're dealing with a skinwalker. Today we're dealing with shape changers. Today we're dealing with the Grim Reaper. Like, they'd constantly be changing what they're dealing with. But then a few seasons in, they started getting really bogged down with, well, now we're dealing with demons. Well, now we're dealing with vampires. Now we're dealing with demons. Now we're dealing with more demons. Oh, now we're dealing with some more vampires. It felt like they were kind of really kind of into a rut for like a season or two of, well, great, now we're just dealing with this one thing over and over and over again. No conversation on this one. Interesting. And yeah, so if your DM's having trouble with that, that can be a great way to kind of split things up. And while developing a character's backstory, giving your character their opportunity. And just overall, just having fun with things. Alright, looks like we're going to have to use some of this to really make progress here. Can I buy more? No. Alright. But, that isn't the only thing I wanted to say for using using a home, of course. That's just one of the basic applications of reasons why you might want to, and why your DM might want to, and ways you can make that work in interesting, like, functions for helping with the roleplay and other fun that the party experiences. But now, like, let's also talk about just straight up using a home, like, as a encounter zone. Your party, like, most parties tend to go out into the world, they go into a dungeon, they're dealing with a castle, or some old ruins, a cave or a mine, the Underdark, like, all these things. A home gives them, an option to, like, they could have a home base, though. They could go back to that, could give your party kind of a nice little grounds to work with as a base of return. A good tie-in for why they might be wanting to help an area, because, hey, I live here. So, of course, they want to, defend the place they live. Because if they don't, their own home gets wrecked. Little things like that can help out with party motivation. But also, I want to talk about actually using a home as, like, a dungeon. Or as an encounter point. Because there's a lot you can do with that. Where is this dirt? There is dirt here, and I don't see it, and I don't like that I can't see where it's supposed to be. It's going to bug me. Alright, I think I got it. Or at least some of it. There we go. Apparently there's something at the top. Alright. But, like, how can you use as a DM a home as a actual encounter zone? There are so many ways that you could do fun things with it. Let's let's use it as a. It can also be a great way to get your party in a disarmed state, to have to deal with something while they aren't armed to the teeth with all their magical doodads and everything. What if they are on, they're taking a break from their adventure? They've gone home for the day, they're resting, something happens. The enemy comes to them, the adventure follows them home. Come on, come clean it. What have they got around? Maybe their sword got broken and it's currently being. Their weapon is getting maintenance, repairs. If you're running that type of game where things like can break, that can be a huge aspect of some interactions. Well, your sword broke. Now you got to go find a special smith to fix your magical longsword, because not just any smith can fix that. What are you going to do during the downtime? Because maybe it takes a while for it to fix. Yeah, once again, you're setting the stage. Now you've got your party maybe not decked out fully, or a party member not decked out fully, having to deal with something. Now think about your house. What have you got around your house? What could you use as armor, as weapons? What is in your home, and particularly in a D&D character's home, that could be useful for this sort of situation? You see what I'm getting at right now? Let's take the kitchen, for example. What if, while they were out adventuring, some pixies or some fae or other critters moved in to their seemingly empty house because they haven't been home to fix it up. They haven't been home to maintain it. Alright, I think I'm going to have to use a different spray nozzle now. This thing's just got annoying angles. I think this one had the pressure of the level 1 while also moving around enough that it might work better on some of these things. There we go. Perfect. So, yeah, you go home and, maybe a mimic's taken over some of your silverware. Or there's pixies in your kitchen now, hiding out. How are you going to deal with them? All you've got is some silverware to fight with. That can be, give your party something to improvise. Have they got a fireplace? Is it lit while they're home? And if so, are they going to use fire as a weapon? Are they going to burn down their own home accidentally or on purpose? How attached are they to the place? There are so many things you can play with there. When, especially if your party's a big, let's destroy everything type of party, give them something they maybe don't want to destroy. Something that you can work with them on as well, you don't want to destroy this, you say. So, but now you've got to fight something in here using maybe not throwing a fire and lightning bolts around every 3 seconds. Now you've got to find some other way to fight this thing that's invaded your home. And you've got to find a way to do so without blowing out all the windows, knocking down the walls, and just burning the place to the ground. Like you could with, say, most dungeons. Most dungeons, you're going to be able to just wreck the joint. And most parties probably will. I mean, half the time the place is already wrecked. Alright, where are we looking for here? Rear door frame. Okay. Once again, I don't see where this is. Must be something on the top or the bottom or the sides. All of these little spots. So yeah, this can be a fun way to make your party think outside the box, using improvised weapons. What if you're in the bedroom and you get attacked by a dream demon? Some sort of demon that attacks you in your dreams, or you wake up and you find yourself under attack. Are you going to try to pull the Well, I sleep with my sword under my pillow. I mean, maybe next to the bed? Sure. Boy, if whoever woke you up already took care of that and removed that item from your reach while you were asleep. What are you going to fight with? Do you have a bed stand? Are you going to break off a leg from your bed? Then fight with that. Kitty, why are you upset? What are you meowing for? Alright, well, my cat is running around meowing for some reason. Kitty! What have we got? Okay, you got a toy. You having fun with that? Is that just it? You're meowing because you're having fun? Alright, well, that's okay then. I was just worried you were upset about something. Dumb furbballs sometimes. Let's see here. Okay, this panel is... Oh, that one's clean now. Armor panel, oh, caterpillar tread. This caterpillar tread? No, this caterpillar tread. Okay. Where am I missing on you? Aha! Had to get the right angle. These caterpillar treads are a pain to get in. There we go. Alright. So yeah. You can use all sorts of fun things like that for a dungeons encounter or a game encounter just to fill time. It's also really helpful for, like, say your party is, like, some of your party members are, you know, out of town. Not able, like, literally out of town, physically in real life. You haven't got the full party, you don't want to move on with the main story right now. Give them some downtime, you still need to encounter. It's a great one-shot situation. You can just throw it in there and be like, alright, how do you deal with this? Then, of course, you've got, let's think of other rooms. Living rooms. You've got a chair. Do you have a bearskin rug? Classic, you know, medieval setting. Like I said, fireplace. Are you going to accidentally burn your house down? Are you going to work something else out? One of these wheels is not clean. Which one of you is not clean? And where is this wheel? Because my pickup on items doesn't seem to be great. It's an armored panel. Okay, the something with this vehicle seems to throw off the pickup on, like, where things are, where this is aiming at, like whatnot. Don't like that. There we go. There's that wheel. Rear door frame. Once again, how do I fix this? I don't know. Let's keep looking at it. Must be a spot. There we go. I've heard you're the unofficial top dog of the pressure washing game, but do you travel out of town? I've got a temple that's urgently in need of some TLC. A temple, you say? Alright. Other good questions. Basements. Have you got a rat problem? It can be fun just to... it can be really fun sometimes, especially if you got a higher level party. Throw something basic at them. Something that they have maybe, you know, the joke, like, let's go kill some giant rats. See how, let the party have a minute where they can just have an easy fight. That's a tremendous job, Turfinder. You may have earned yourself some lucrative future contract work. Congratulations. Good. But then, also, clean the temple. Okay, it looks like a weird Gothic chapel, not less than a temple, but you know what? Alright. Next door to my farm lives an order of the nicest, kindest, non-verbal monks whose temple is currently caked in manure, top to bottom. It's a heck of a story, I'll fill you in as you go, but basically you're not here right now. They're not here right now, and I thought it'd only be right and neighborly of me to get it hosed down in their absence. Something to give them a boost for when they return. They sure could do with one. Okay, are they gonna actually like it, or are we gonna have, like, international, like, we're gonna have some sort of dispute and whatnot on our hands? Nice looking place. Ooh. Nice countryside. Yeah. Okay. Whoa, okay. We have to go way all the way up to the top there. I like the look of this place. Let's go with this for now. Let's just get an idea of what comes off and what doesn't. So where to start? I don't know. You tell me. You're the one talking. Tell me. Well, you know I'm all about the mayor's pipeline diverting all the water from the river to a secret mining rig, right? I don't recall that part. Okay. These monks have relied on that river water to water their crops for time immemorial, and now those crops are failing. All right, I understand where that's a problem and why. Pollution being what it is. And you're just going to leave it at that? Okay. Well, anyway, so as I was saying, yeah, using homes as a dungeon position and all that, and it can be a great way to throw something low level at your party just for a fun encounter. You don't always have to have it be serious. You don't always have to have it be a super hard challenge. You don't need deadly encounters every encounter. Let something be easy sometimes. Let the characters test out their abilities that they don't normally get to use because they have to use their optimal abilities all the time. Let them use some of their janky, weird abilities that hardly see the light of day. You could even use it to use the home as an opportunity for them to have to use other skills that they don't normally use. If you have a highly combat-oriented place and game style, usually, let this be an opportunity for them to use other skills like diplomacy and the like, puzzle solving. Because yeah, what if they're now they've got to work out an issue with a neighbor? Can't just go killing the neighbor, or maybe they could, I suppose, if they want to lose their home and be wanted by the town guard for however long. But yeah, what if they don't want that, and they've got a dispute with a neighbor? How can they resolve it? What is the dispute with the neighbor? Is their garden overgrown because no one's been there tending it? Has a spriggan moved in? And yeah, maybe it doesn't necessarily have to not be a combat encounter always, but like maybe it's a spriggan in the area, and your neighbor's a druid who doesn't want it to come to harm, but also, needs to get dealt with because it's causing problems now. It really needs to get relocated to somewhere away from your home, away from town, perhaps. Could you work with the neighbor to give them a opportunity to get that thing out of there? Maybe the town guard are intent on killing it, and whatnot. You could do all sorts of fun things there. You could also do political intrigue. That's like having your home return area, having the party at home for a bit is a great way to suck them into some of the local intrigue. With what if the local lord's like, you're a bit behind on your taxes. How are they going to resolve that? Are they going to do some jobs? Are they going to have to deal with fantasy IRS? And what does that look like? How are they doing it? Do adventurers in your world get an exception to that kind of thing? Is the local lord good, bad, ugly, incompetent? Like, you could do so much with that. Just for a change of setting, a change of pace, and have fun with it. Working on this chapel area, it also makes me think, what if your character's religious? What if you don't necessarily have a home in the standard sense? You don't have a cabin or a apartment building or something that you live in. You don't have somewhere like that. You live in a monastery. What does home entail then? Are you having to attend religious order items all day? Is your character into that type of thing? Are they trying to get out of it? Like, how does that affect their standing in the order of whatever religion they're a part of? there's so many weird things you could do there. Is something going on and troubling the local chapel? Like they spend the night and then they realize something's off. The local archbishop that raised me isn't acting like themselves. Are they themselves? Has something happened? Are they being blackmailed into having to do something against the usual, like, what they would be doing? Like, has some of the local clergy been corrupted by something? Maybe you get roped into performing some services in the area. Yes. So we've brother so and so. Returned home for a while you're working on real rest between your adventures. Great. Um, we have a problem. We've received word of a haunting out over at this one townhouse, and we don't have any of the other brethren either able to currently handle it or available. Could you go handle that for us? Does your character go out there alone? Do you get the rest of the party together and interrupt some of their own downtime activities? What does that entail? If you do one way or the other, like can you get hold of all the party members? Maybe you can't. How do you handle without them? You may notice I ask a lot of questions, or phrase things in a question format, because I want you to think about. There's too many ways that you could do things that I can't think of for you, because your character is going to be unique to you in your design and your way of doing things. Your DMs have their own quirks. I can't talk about every possibility, so I can kind of give you some generals and help you direct your thoughts in a way to how would you want to see this played out. And maybe you and the DM can come to a conclusion on, like, what would work and what wouldn't work. You should always respect each other's, like, no, this is a no-go zone. I'm not talking about this, or we're not having this kind of encounter because that's not something I'm comfortable with. I've got trauma with that. Like, there's so many things you can work on to make it work for everyone while still giving character development and backstory. Flushing out your hometown, fleshing out your character's childhood. What made them into the character they are that day? Sometimes you don't have to be home to do that, of course. I mean, I think I've shared this story maybe before. I can't quite remember now. I had a bard, halfling bard, for a while there. That his main thing was, his backstory was he was a saxon. He worked in a graveyard cemetery type deal, taking care of things. That was what he did when he was home before he became an adventurer. And there was a whole backstory with him and the local lord and some things going bad, whatnot, that led to him basically becoming a folk hero and having to leave home for a while, if not indefinitely, to avoid repercussions from what he had done, discovering that he had bardic powers in the process. But I often would tie his backstory into his character. And sometimes it would be on the spot, just creating up something on the spot, and it usually worked with and I worked with how the dice would roll out. I used to joke around. Part of his being a Saxon was, he had to deal with the dead, or the undead in some cases. I need to get a ladder to reach that properly. Where's my? Why do I have two ladders? That's interesting. But so yeah, if we encountered some undead or something, and I got we encountered ghouls on a few occasions, and I did pretty good in fighting them. I used to joke around that I had a lot of practice growing up, because Miss Bigsley or whatever didn't like to stay in her tomb all that time, and so sometimes you had to give her a good whack and send her back in. send her back to her rest. So, like, I've dealt with ghouls before because that was a common problem of a Saxon trying to deal with the graveyard. Is sometimes the residents got a little too lively for what they're supposed to be. They got a little. They didn't behave as dead as they should have. It also worked out really great for like me trying to break into a kind of a crypt setup at one point, and didn't have there was a wrought iron gate type deal if I remember right, and I was like, could I use my shovel because I carried a shovel with me everywhere as a melee weapon basically and a general tool. It's like, what if I use my shovel to could I break this gate open? And I rolled a nat 20 on that. And so I joked around about, like, sometimes you have to get into these places, and it worked out on more than one occasion with the dice. That I was just really good at breaking into places at the same time, especially tomb structures. It's not because I went in and stole stuff. It's just, I just happened to be good at breaking into them when I needed to, because sometimes you had to break into them to sort things out. Especially if it was an old family tomb and you had to go put some new resident in there, but there weren't other family members around to help open the door. Or someone lost the key a while back. And that was just fun. And that kind of was my home, using my home for my character's development and just role play. And it gave and I always try to leave things, like, I give myself some background, I give it some basics, but I usually leave it vague just so that I can have those ad-lib moments of, yeah, this fits with how the character's been playing, how the roles have gone. All right, I was good at this because of this growing up. It wasn't in my backstory before. It wasn't even something I had considered. Now it is, and now it is part of my backstory, locked in there. Because that's how my character played out and what made it fun. It made the character more real. Ooh, another good use of, say, a convent type setup for a home encounter. What if the chapel it gets raided by thieves, or a rival religion even? What if you get sucked into a holy war while you're trying to have a moment at home, resting from your adventures, and now you're stuck dealing with some weird cult trying to overthrow everything you know? And are they going to be just a bunch of crazy people, or are they going to be, unfortunately, really reasonable? Like, are they doing this because of something that your religion generally isn't great on? Gods in D&D tend to have flaws or very strict codes of conduct at times. And what if that's, rubbed some people the wrong way? And now they want to try to change something. How is that going to go over? Are you going to remain faithful, or are you going to be like, that is a problem? We can't. How are we going to address it? Is this the right way to address it? There's probably a better way, but all sorts of fun things like that. How are you going to develop as a character? Home is also a great way to level up your character. Old school D&D. I'm talking like 1.0. Like, a lot of the times D&D, it's just, you hit XP level bonus amount, you level up. Congratulations. Or, we've gone on for long enough. I think as a DM, it's time for everyone to level up again. Things like that. That's how I see a lot of current modern D&D tends to go. At least for my groups and my encounters. Back in 1.0, though, you had to go to a guild, you had to go to a trainer, you had to go home, essentially, or to what basically adventurer's idea of a home base, and you had to get trained on your new skills. You had to learn some new things. You had to prove yourself. Home is a Using home in your games is a great way for the character development as a level up component to make the level up meaningful and to help your new, especially if you're a newer player to D&D and or just to the character class, to learn your character class, not just to have to go, cool, now you have expel, 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 new ability, and this. Hope you remember to use it next time we play and get into a situation where it might be useful. Give your characters a little downtime. This is great for just as a DM also to have some one-on-one time if you're with your players, maybe to develop their character and how you want to work with them. But like, okay, cool. It could be as simple as, hey, you go spend some time with your trainer and they teach you about this. Or maybe it's you have to go on a special little mini test. Go into the basement of the convent. You will knock on the third stone from the right past the scripture hub. That alcove there will open up and you will find yourself facing a trial. You must drink the liquid in the goblet and face your inner demons. Or, even at home, like Artificer. Alright, you're at home. You're learning this new ability, but you've had these thoughts on how could I make this work? How could I progress down this particular path of science and like probably destruction of things? Also, developing my character, learning new skills. How have I learned this? What am I using? Am I like? You find yourself dealing with those pixies in the kitchen. How do you get rid of them? Well, I'm a bit of an alchemist. My class focuses around alchemy a lot. Okay, cool. So maybe I have to develop a special potion, like for repellent for these pixies. Okay, let's do it. Let's make something. And then, cool. Now you've got the skill as you leveled up. It's less of a level. It's not just oh cool, boom boom boom. You're suddenly this level. You've earned it. You've worked for it. Not just by doing things, but actually not just by going, oh yes, I gained X experience points, but actually I've gained an experience itself. You've done something for it that's specifically related to it. I want to say Critical Role did this fairly well in some of their campaigns. I can't remember if it was in all of them, but I want to say at least in the second or third one. I think it was their second campaign. They did a lot of that type of training and leveling up. You want to go up a level in Monk? Well, now you have to go back to your order and you have to talk to your trainer, who's also your supervising agent in the spy network or whatever. And now you've got to learn these skills from them, but also you've got to learn this and this. You've got to perform this task of loyalty to prove that you're worthy of this new rank. Give it more than you're now level 3. It's, oh no, now you're an acolyte. You were a lay person perhaps before, but now you're an acolyte. You've got a title. You're a deacon. You're a squire. You're gaining something. In Desperate Act, the head monks sent them all out on a pilgrimage of faith. Okay, that's where everyone went. Got it. Now I've no mind where they were headed, only that they took with them a vast multitude of aids. Oh, I understand something now about this game. They took with them a vast multitude of eggs. We cleaned up the mayor's residence that was egged very heavily. And this mess that they're in here with their crops and everything is because the mayor made a call with a pipeline. So now we know who egged the mayor's office and building and all that, and led to our needing to clean it. These monks did. That's fun. I love that tie-in. Speaking of which, you can tie things in too with like your home time in the game. Like, cool. In order to prove your worth at level 3, you had to perform a task. You had to go do this thing, retrieve this item for the order or whatever. Show that you could be trusted to carry out more dangerous quests and thus gain, greater rights within of like being able to call on greater amounts of your god's power. I keep going back to clerics because that's one of the classes I'm most familiar with. Or arcane lore. You've learned this new spell, but in order to do so, you had to go acquire some key ingredients. Now, like you had to go to a cave to find bat guano in order to get this fireball spell. But turns out the cave wasn't quite so simple, and while you were there, you ran into some things, or you cast fireball while in the cave and fried all the bats. How are you going to get guano in the future? Yeah, the party could end up creating their own problems for a later level up, even. Or you must go retrieve this thing for the order, like I was saying. Cool, you brought the thing back. You've earned your rank. You're leveled up. But now you come back at you want to go up to level 5 now. That's usually another big stepping stone for a lot of classes. All right. So it turns out that artifact you brought back was heavily cursed, and things are going bad. People are disappearing. Now you need to deal with the after effects of your previous level up test. That you don't necessarily have to make these tests for every single level up, but make it especially for some of the major ones where you get a lot of new spells or a lot of new skills, just so it has meaning. And so now you've got to go deal with the after effects of the last level up, major level up requirements, because turns out there was a little more to it. This gives your DM both time for your character to develop, like I said before, but it also gives your character time to develop the world. Like, what kind of setting are you in? Why are these things a thing? And all that. The DM can create aspects of the world and the general culture out of your character's development at home. Gives you a reason to be immersed in the world, to have a... Oh, sorry. I'm trying to... Got the dog's trying to scratch right near me. But, it helps your character get more immersed in the world. You as a player get more immersed in the world. It helps your DM develop the world. Because, DMing and world creation, sure, the DM does the majority of the work with that. But when it comes to your character's involvement in that world and your character becoming a part of that world and understanding their part in the world, having these sorts of encounters is great for you as a player to become acquainted with what your DM's vision is and what your vision adds to it, especially if your DM's really good about respecting the players as well and not just going, my world, my rules entirely. Let your players be co-creators with you on some of these things. Yeah, okay. So you're part of the Order of Tyr, which is very big on war and, was it justice? I can't remember. but not so good on mercy, if I remember right. It's been a while. I'm a little rusty on some of those, some of the various gods and goddesses' tenets. But now you're like, how does that play into your DM's world and your character as a member of that order or of that development? Are you a member of the Thieves Guild? Are you gonna have to do something illegal that could get you in trouble? Like, in order to level up, are you going to have to do something that could get you in trouble with the local authorities? Or are you a sanctioned rogue type deal? And in which case, maybe you're getting some more official training. Like, how do you scale a building without gear and go full Assassin's Creed? Are you taking the Assassin's route? Are you taking the the other? There was a subclass for rogue about like breaking and entering, basically. Like, I forget what they called it exactly, but it was about getting into buildings more. Are you doing one of those? Let your character have that experience learning those skills, like I said before, but have it have a tie-in with the world. Are they just doing kind of like a firefighters thing, where they have a tower that they can run drills on, or some other structure set up, old cars that they may use for running drills on how to use the jaws of life, how to put out a fire under these conditions, under controlled conditions, though, where they can actually practice. Does your guild have something like that? Are you, as a rogue, all right, now I've your the lock master for the guild has prepared this test for you. Can you open this lock? Why is it complicated? Have like a mix of roles. Make it mix the roles role play and actual, like, don't penalize your players for if they get a bad roll. Well, okay, maybe like a little bit, like, but don't have it be like, you got a bad roll, you don't get to level up anymore, or you don't get to go down that preferred skill path. But like, oh, you had a bad roll. Now they're humming at you. Are you really qualified for this right now? You're being questioned. Maybe you have a streak of bad rolls. They're going, are you sure this is the path you want to take in life? Your instructor's, questioning whether you're really cut out for this job. Let that be a good opportunity for your character to be like, no, maybe as a player you're like, yeah, maybe I'm not after all, and you can change. It gives you the opportunity to change. Or maybe you really do want to go down that route with your character, so this gives your character a chance to be like, no, I am dedicated. I may be sucking right now, but that means I have room to grow. And the classic, your protagonist development. You don't have to be good at something right off the bat, but you show determination to learn and to do better at it, and to eventually master. And maybe you've got one of those instructors that's like, all right, as long as you've got the passion for it, I won't give up on you. As tempting as it may be at times, because, man, you suck at this. All right, let's try this again. Try this angle instead. Make it a learning experience. Like, make your characters earn their levels, earn their improvement, their skill development, become familiar with it, get a chance to test the skill that they're learning as a character, so that the player themselves is familiar with how it works and how to utilize it in a encounter. Or maybe learn some of its more unorthodox applications. Like, yes, you've got second wind now as a fighter. Cool. But, like, you can just say, hey, you've got second wind now as a fighter. And I've just done that with some of my players before. All right, you've leveled up. Cool. You've got this ability now. And I've noticed they don't really use that ability at all. They don't, probably because they don't know how, or they forget to even have it. So now, me as a DM, it's kind of on me here to go, all right, let's give you a reason to use it, but maybe not one where you're just in a life or death scenario and you're like, man, if I don't get, I have to take a swing instead here and do this because if I don't, we're all gonna die. But if it's a safer training scenario, but yeah, you just got beat to a pulp by the instructor, and now you need to use your second wind in order to get back up. Prove that you aren't giving up. And it's not necessarily always about defeating the instructor as much as is, ooh, you're showing the instructor that you are ready to advance. Once again, now the character has a reason to use that skill to see how it works, and as a player, that player now has a reason to have a respect for that skill as to why they are given it and what it can be used for. How handy can it be under the right conditions? Or maybe it's also a great time, especially if you're a DM with a lot of experience, and especially if your player is new, this is a great way for you to give pointers without just being DM telling the player how to play. Like, it's kind of still that to a degree, but you're telling them ways they can play without being necessarily, no, this is how you have to do it, but there's more, this is one way you can do it. Does that make sense? I hope it does. This place looks kind of nice as it. Where is this the temple of, though, I'm wondering? Snakes? Worms? Just a bit of a design choice to make it look cool? A few of these things look a little Nordic, but also a bit on the, so the old, more medieval Gothic styling. Oh, it's gonna be such a pain to get up above. Oh, I missed a whole spot there. Hold on, let me get this lip, or is it gonna bug me? There we go. That gets that done. This stone base is not done. Where am I missing? Or am I missing something on this stone base? Down this side? It's on this side. There we go. Yeah, I like this design. Okay, your door's a little on the rusty side. Not sure. Okay, this feels like definitely... Yep, those are serpents there and there. Looks like an eye design or a brazier. Yeah, okay, so what are these guys worshipping? You said they did crops as well, right? They said this temple did a bunch with crops and that the mayor's pipeline issue led to them losing their crops, more or less, and which put them in dire straits. Okay, so if that's the case, yeah, what type of religion is this? Are they like monk types, like that are in isolation? You know, they do gardening for, you know, peace of mind and meditation purposes, or living off the land, being cut off, being a bit more separated from society. What are we dealing with here? Ah, nice. Okay, that flashed in a way that caught me a little off guard. And ow. Maybe looking a little too closely at those steps after that. There we go, another spot done. All in all, this isn't too bad. Like, it's taking a while. We're making slow progress right now, but in a lot of cases, like, we haven't made a ton of progress. No, we're making decent progress. We're only at about to hit 40%, but we've gotten the lower level practically done now, and it looks nice. We're only 1 star in, though, which is interesting. How are we 1 star done, but 39% done at the same time? That feels like a weird balance. Anywho, while the monks were gone, we had a freakish twister. That is not where I thought that conversation was going to end up going, but okay. What about a twister? Cursed thing scooped up all the freshly laid manure from my farm and deposited it all over their temple. Ah! Wait, I think I see where this is going to go. This is going to end up being we clean off the temple, and the manure ends up, reinvigorating the soil, so they end up being able to garden again, and it's like their god answered their prayers type deal. I bet this is where this is going. It's like, yes, freakish accident that strangely helped. Whether it looks like it should have or not. Alright, there we go. That's done. This pedestal, I'm missing some spots. There we go. There we go. Brazier, pedestal. This door's gonna bug me until I get it clean. At least it's got some pretty evident spots on it, so I can go and blast those particular areas. So I can do it without having to get a second bottle here. One door. Or am I missing a spot on this one? Down here. There we go. Door. Done. Good. And this place is filthy. But alright, I'm starting to see how this game does things, and like how they balance out their story development over the scenarios and interconnectivity, and I'm liking how that's coming together with things. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted from other conversations and whatnot. Let's see, where else to go with this? I mean, you could do a lot of stuff depending on your character's race and class. Like, the race could also affect how a character's home life is. Like, if they're a dwarf, if you're going with the classic dwarf design, chances are their big thing is a clan. And bringing honor to that clan, or maintaining that honor. So they go back to their clan during their home time. Like, do they have to deal with some clan politics? Are they an outcast? I mean, depending on your world building, like, I've seen a lot of world building designs where dwarves don't go outside unless they're an outcast. They're from society. They've been kicked out for some reason. Is your character one of those characters? One of those ones that was sent out because they, broke a taboo or something, and this is their punishment? Are they banished? So going home, is that more dangerous for them? What kind of encounters do we expect? Is it a matter of they have to go out and return something they lost? So they have to go get a thing and then bring it home? Have they done so yet? Or are they gonna have to make an argument with the elders to be allowed back for some heavier training and whatnot, or to acquire an item so that they can proceed with their quest to return the item that got lost or stolen? And so once again, you get to use some other skills other than combat necessarily. Maybe you have to make some negotiations. It gives great role-playing opportunities for your character just to have fun with it, because sometimes you don't have to make everything a dice roll. That's something I should also hit on. You don't have to make everything about the dice rolls. Dice rolls are great for, hey, yeah, let's see if you can pull this off type of deal. But it doesn't always make sense. Especially if they have had some previous good dice rolls in relation to a thing, or if they are, that is their character. They're super skilled in this one area. Everything about that is they are skilled about this. Does it even make sense to make them rolled roll the dice under these conditions in order to obtain this thing or accomplish this task. So sometimes you can give your party a thing, or one of your party members something, without clogging up. Oh no, you failed because the dice dislike you today, and now you cannot achieve this, or you'll have to wait till next time. Yeah. Now let's not make the game frustrating for the player just because of a bad roll. Give them reasons why they can, like, why they could do things. Or if your player themselves is still in character, but like they're smart, they're creative, they think of a loophole for a system or a way to work around it. And like, oh yes, I am not allowed to do this because of this contract my character signed. But the contract was very vague on using this, communicating in this way with the people I'm not supposed to contact otherwise. What if I don't directly contact them? What if I contact someone else and they happen to be a person that, reports to those people? Loophole in the system, and that's something the player themselves maybe thought of. Don't make them have to roll for it. Make it so that, okay, cool, you were smart as a player. You're still in character? You're good? Alright. Let's reward that creativity. Let your players have fun and learn and grow as a person as well, not just as a character. Let them appreciate what they are dealing with, what they are achieving. It'll help them become a better part of your world and have some better stakes in it, as it were. Of course, you gotta take different approaches to, like, are they good, bad, evil? Is what the player wants necessarily, does it make sense to your world setup? Or you have to talk with them about, like, okay, this isn't really how that works here. We could do this or this, but we can't really make that happen. Sometimes you do have to draw a line. Can't always give the player everything they want. And yeah, and sometimes as a DM, you do have to, do something that uses the character's backstory in a way that the player may not have thought of it being applied. Just as part of the world setting or their development, part of the stories, like the campaign's development, could be a lot of things. Man, there is a whole lot of weird little nooks and crannies on some of these windows. I left a ladder here somewhere. There we go. Let's go up here. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Kind of like the look of this thing here. Like this art and design. I wonder how well this would... I would hate to do roofing on this building. I would really hate to do roofing on this building. Because this is such a steep setup and I hate heights. And it's a multi-story structure. But at the same time, I love the design, and these sorts of things are usually done in a way because of, like, sort of structural integrity, or also to make what was that? Something was coming up as not clean. Where was that? Barge board? Where is that? Okay, that's this front porch. Alright, I think it's time for me to actually head up onto some of the roofing itself. Move this over. really quite close. I think we need to head up though, and let's go up to the top and start working our way down a bit. What is up at the top? How high up is the top? Nice view. Gnome. The gnome is here still. Made it. What's up? You're a different looking gnome. Huh. Bye. Yeah, this makes me think. Another fun thing. If your party's been gone for a while, what if gnomes moved in? Not like the, well, I guess, actually that could be tricky for D&D because gnomes are a playable character race, so that can be touchy. Because, like, how intelligent are they and all that? And how does that work with everything else? Maybe someone did move in while you were gone. Oh yes, we moved into this old abandoned house. No one was living here for years or months. Oh, what do you mean this is your house? That's strange. We got the land rights now. How are you going to resolve this? Legally, we own the place because you left town and haven't been back for so long. That would be an interesting way to have a encounter the party has to deal with without necessarily being combat. Legal woes being an interesting approach. Cool, now you have to work out, alright, are you going to have to change your house? Is someone else going to have to move out? Are you just going to kick them out if you can legally do so? Are you going to help them get a place of their own? Are you going to let them stay there? Are they going to let you stay there if you lose the legal battle? Like, what are you going to do? That leads to all sorts of interesting situations you could mess with both as a DM and a player. For creating some world development, some drama, setting the stage. Like, okay, is this something? How do the local populace and the local lord handle land disputes? And if they do have one, like who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? Who's winning this fight or this debate? Why is this? There we go. It's not coming clean. For a while there is some definite gunk on this. Alright, I'm happy with that now. Yeah, pretty happy with that. Window, tower. Okay, the tower itself is an item, and it's going to take a bit to get. So that means this is all part of the tower. Okay, so this whole tower is an item. That's going to be a problem. Am I going to be able to fish this in one night? I may have to pick this up tomorrow to finish off. Just because it is taking a while, and I only have so much time before I have to get to bed. Because I have work in the morning. The life of an adult. Especially an adult with children and responsibilities. I can't just do everything I want sometimes. Back in the day, as a kid, I could stay up all night playing if I wanted. I didn't have to be up in the morning. But not anymore. Now I've got responsibilities. What does your character have for responsibilities? Ooh. Thoughts. Thought I had for a great encounter issue for a home. If you have return home, maybe you like live alone type deal. You have maybe you have a home of your own. Something that's likely to have become a problem while you're gone, other than like creature moving in possibly. Probably the place has gotten overgrown, dusty, worn down, beat up. Are you going to have to perform home maintenance to, like, fix the roof and other things like that? Are you going to have to deal with code enforcement? If you've ever been a homeowner or the like, work with home stuff enough, you've probably had to deal with code enforcement at some point in time. And it's a pain in the butt sometimes because they'll be like, yes, this thing is just not meeting code. It is a mess. Especially if you're a part of a homeowners association, which I never recommend. Because then you get other people dictating what your yard and house can look like. And I'm not a huge fan of that. But you still, usually if you're living in a town or whatever, you still got code enforcement to a degree of like, now you can't have garbage in your yard. You have to keep the lawn mowed down a bit. That sort of deal. D&D wise, what does that look like? Does where you live have code enforcement you have to deal with? Well, yeah, you've been gone for 2 months. Your yard's overgrown. You've got to take care of this now that you're back. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay this fine. How are you going to fix that in time? Is it the classic? Well, the DM says now that you noticed you've got this in the mail, this notice on your door, or saying, hey, you've got to deal with this problem, and it happens to be conveniently you've got 24 hours to fix this big issue. How are you going to do it? And let your character have a challenge still, a puzzle of sorts to solve, and your player to think about how they're going to address it and maybe prevent it from being a problem again in the future. Or how are they going to, are they going to pay the fine? Are they going to end up with a warrant out for them if they don't get it fixed in time? I mean, it would be kind of rude to just be like, now you got a fine on you because you were gone for 2 months in game and don't have all this stuff and this you got a ticket like the first week and now it's escalated. Can you imagine how the monks would have felt if they returned to find their temple completely caked in cow excrement? I don't know. That depends what they worship. Do they worship a cow? I mean, for anyone, you'd see it as a sign, right? I don't know if I would like that. Would I see something like that as a sign? I don't know. Or I'd probably be going, shoot, this place is a mess now. I have to clean this. I'm pretty sure that would be more my reaction in real life to finding my place coated in manure. I'd be like, I have to clean this mess. Who is responsible for this mess? Is it a natural disaster? If it is, cool, no one to blame. But now I have to still deal with it. I'd probably be a little grumbly about that. But, oh man, now I have to fix this. Great. Just what I wanted to do with my day, my money, and my time. I guess this kind of, maybe this is how your character would address this. Man, I just got home from, saving this town from a lich. Now I've got to clean up my garden and my shed, or I'm going to have the homeowners association out for blood. That would be a weird twist to it, especially if the homeowners association ends up being vampires. Take out some stress you can't take out in real life on the fantasy homeowners association. That's one way to do it. D&D has been known to be a therapy for people on multiple occasions. Maybe not always the best form of therapy. And don't make your poor DM be your therapist. They don't deserve that. And probably they need therapy themselves at times. But there are certain types of therapy that a D&D game is rather suited to help with. Like, okay, you just need an outlet for some frustration right now. Cool. Yeah, here's your problem. Let's visualize it into the game, and now you can solve it with magic and probably violence. Instead of, like you have to in real life, usually, deal with it through fines, regulations, rules, maybe court rulings if it's really serious. Yeah, all sorts of issues. But you can. The joy of D&D is you don't have to make it realistic all the time. You can do your own thing. You can break away from the norm. In fact, a lot of people play games like D&D for a bit of escapism, from getting away from the troubles of your day-to-day life. Not necessarily just because they want to approach those things in a different setting. So that's also a good reason why you may not want to use some of these things as a DM. If it's not good for your players, especially for their mental health, like because they've got enough going on in real life, they don't need you bringing real life into the game. Don't. There's so many other things you can do with it that will help them and still give you something to work with. That's kind of part of why I've been rambling on about all these options and ideas of what you could do with things and what could be challenges, because it still gives you something to do, but it doesn't necessarily. But this way, you have different ways to approach it depending on the character and the players. You don't have to follow a set formula. Joys of D&D is the rules be more like guidelines. In fact, they specifically say so, usually right in the very first page of the player or DM's guide. If I remember correctly, they usually have something in there going, yeah, these are the rules. But if they're cramping your style, not being fun for you or the player and your other players, ignore them, change them, do something to make it so you have fun. That's generally the rule of D&D. It's also why we have things like, for a long time, Wizards of the Coast is like, D&D rules for tieflings. Tieflings are always some form of red. And they don't have this, and they don't have this, and they never are any other thing like this. And generally speaking, most players looked at that and said, I respect that the council has made a decision. Seeing as it's a stupid decision, I have elected to ignore it. And then the DM and the party would do their own thing. And so we'd have multicolored tieflings and different looks, and sometimes they actually have usable tails or horns and whatnot that they could implement as a weapon or as a, just a part of their character in a way that the rules as written say no. But the rule of cool and the DM, with the power to rewrite said rules as appropriate, said, we can make this work. And yeah, that would be way better. Don't let AMI suggestions or any of the rules as written necessarily prevent you and your people from having a good time playing a game. Because you're there ultimately to play a game, have fun, and, take a break from reality. Unless you're some of those crazy people that want to make it more real and more stressful just for that. Says the man who plays Escape from Tarkov sometimes for fun. And, Tarkov is basically known for suffering. That is what it is. It is about suffering in so many ways. This is why I had two ladders, I bet. So that if I needed to, I could take one ladder, set it up to get up to one area, and then bring the other ladder up that ladder to get to the higher region. So I bet that's part of it. Here I am just parkouring. This figurehead's going to be a pain in the butt. These figureheads and their angles are not great for me. I'm not entirely happy with that. Other uses of home. I think older school D&D did a lot more with it before, but it is still in there. If you look through some of the players in DM books, generally speaking, your player could end up with followers, especially if you're like a warrior type. You could end up becoming commander of a squad or eventually an army of just various low ranked probably, but still actual fighters that you could maybe lead into combat. And that was part of your character's abilities and development. And older school, that was actually a big thing. In fact, it was possibly a very necessary thing in a lot of ways because you're dealing with a bunch of junk that could get you killed very easily. And so sometimes it really helped to have more bodies to throw at a problem. Quite literally, sometimes. You take a bunch of minions or followers and they're like, I need you guys to deal with this. Distract the dragon for me while I accomplish this task so that our families can live in peace. Yeah, uh-huh. Cool. Are your followers willing to risk and or probably sacrifice their lives for you? Chances are, if they're following you, that may be the case. Gives you another tool outside of do everything by your lonesome. Alright, I think we got this tower pretty well set. Alright, let's... happy with that, happy with that. Now we made some major progress. I think we'll be okay to get this done tonight. We can keep this pace up. Hope it's not too jarring for you guys, by the way, for me to kind of bounce around with the conversation between the game and D&D stuff and how my mind works with associating things. I know it's probably not the same as how everyone tends to associate one thing to another. I'm a bit on the autistic spectrum, and so sometimes the way I view things isn't the way that everyone else does. Like, I'll see connections and associations with things that a lot of other people would just be like, what does that have to do with that? What's a good example? I don't know. I'm not getting into that one right now. I'm not talking about autism like that, but just as a, hey, I hope you guys are following along with what I'm saying. It's actually proving useful to you and not just boring. Because I can hyperfixate on certain subjects real easy, and especially the ones that I enjoy, and talk your ear off. Whoop. And there we go. We fell down. We have fallen down. Okay. Now, great. Well, I guess I'll clean here while I'm here. And then we'll worry about getting back up there to finish up with that figurehead and everything. You kind of get some angles on it and other things down here from this angle anyway. Feel like I'm missing a little bit up front. Oh, or a lot, and I fell down again. Oops, didn't realize I'd step back that far. Yeah, this is definitely a Viking-ish place. There's something here that this doesn't have the standard. This isn't your standard Gothic. And at first I was thinking, yeah, gargoyles and junk, but no, it's very much a more Viking-y. The Viking setup here with a lot of this. Who did the mayor tick off exactly, and what religion? That's like a longboat helm type figurehead. The mayor may be lucky that they only egged his place. Well, that we know of. Could be a whole lot worse. Good progress. Good progress. Let's get this side of the shingles. I love that we can just stand on this. Normally you'd need, like, you know, a ladder to even stand at some of these angles. Or you'd have to get a bunch of, like, footholds built in. Come clean. Come clean. This wall is annoying me. Go. And we're done with that part. Get this part. Every once in a while, it gets really tricky to hit an angle in a way that works. Good. Good. Ah! And there I go again. So easy to walk off the edge. Okay, let's get on top of this. And then we'll go here. This part, under this eave. Underside of it. I just had a fun thought for rangers, particularly. I suppose it could be like also like certain types of elves, or like a home challenge of sorts. What is your home? Do you live in a tent? In which case, is your home with you all the time anyway? How does that work out for you? Oh, he fell down again. No, no, no. Go up and jump correctly. Thank you. I'm also thinking of, if you ever read The Hobbit, Bilbo Baggins is a great example of someone with a challenge to deal with after their adventure. He goes out, he goes through all these various challenges, near-death experiences, deals with all these enemies, and then he comes home after his big adventure, and it doesn't just go, and he lived happily ever after, and, you know, he comes home and finds out that that he's been gone for so long that everyone's thought he's not coming back, and they started auctioning off his stuff, and now he's got to use a bunch of his earnings from his adventure to rebuy his things from those that are less willing to part with him again, and also to regain his home because the Bag End has been sold, if I remember correctly, or was nearly sold. But he had to basically prove, no, I am Bilbo, I'm still alive, and this is my place, I still own it, those are my things, give me back my silverware, among other problems. Man, this place is filthy, and a few of these angles really are annoying. Okay, let's change this to here. That's easier to work with. That is so much easier than trying to go from front. We're about 78%. Okay, that's great. Making progress. Let's get under this weird ledge. I wonder, do real buildings use this kind of ledge design here on the roof? What would its purpose be, I wonder? As far as design goes, if so. But anyway, back to the topic of Bilbo and his adventures and having to deal with things once he gets home. He's a great example of that. He has to regain basically his home after coming home and finding that, yeah, his home isn't the way he had left it. So I thought, get the whole thing cleaned off. Say the Twister gave the temple some kind of sacred hose down instead. Interesting. Oh yeah, that's a very Nordic setup here. There's still a secret little miracle just between the two of us. Window decoration. Yeah, it looks like the world tree setup. All right. And actually, this example carried over beyond just The Hobbit. It also happened in The Lord of the Rings. Um, Not to Bilbo necessarily, because Bilbo does get consequences of his adventure not quite being over in a lot of cases, because he turns out he has his magic ring is a little more malevolent than the Hobbit initially made it seem, because the ring was still, maybe waking up a bit after being lost to Smeagol / Gollum for so long. And now he's starting to get the less savory effects of his magic ring, and he's got to live with that and deal with that, and goes off to and deal with the side effects of having this ring that's allowed him to live longer than his average age. And now this is actually a really good example of when you've got a high level character, but now you've got a new campaign, and you're like, I'm gonna try out a different character. Maybe not a Bilbo would be a rogue, a thief type character for the most part. But now what Frodo's probably more of a what would Frodo classify as? I suppose more of a standard fighter, if they're even got or maybe a classless type situation where maybe you're not running this quite the same layout. That's a tough one to think about in some cases, because there's a lot of arguments to be made for several different things. But let's just go with fighter. So now you've got a new character now. You've got Frodo, and Frodo's got to take up Bilbo's baggage. He's got to deal with the problem that Bilbo had that he never actually resolved, because he didn't for a long time. Really for basically most of his life, even though it was a baggage problem that was going to come back to haunt him later. And now, Frodo inherits the baggage, and that he's got to fix. All right, we got that. Any other spots here? Over in this corner. Go. In that corner. And we're back down. Let's get missed a spot underneath. And on the side, this buttress and ledge are apparently going to be a little annoying. Frodo, Sam, the other hobbits, they all have to leave home, go on their adventure. But you don't really see it in the movies, as I recall. I don't even remember if they covered it in the extended version. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I watched that sort of stuff. But in the movie, or in the book, after their whole adventure, going to Mount Doom, disposing of the ring, all that fun stuff, their whole adventure, the hobbits go home, and they find out that their adventure isn't quite as over as they had hoped, because Hobbiton, the Shire, and all that, has been overrun and taken over by Saruman, who fled after the Ents wrecked his tower and trapped him in there for a while. He's fled and gone and went to the Shire and basically took over there. And so now the hobbits have to use their recently acquired adventure skills to reclaim the Shire from Saruman. And they do. They get the other hobbits together and they work things out, and they end up becoming kind of leaders of their community there in overthrowing Saruman and his work gangs and reclaiming their home. A great challenge of, well, we were gone for a while, and this is what happened while we were gone. The place changed, and not in a good way. And now it's up to us to fix it, because we're the new people. Because we're the people that are, well, they're the new hands on the scene, and we are also the ones with recently acquired experience that might be good for handling such a problem. This figurehead's gonna give me a headache. Trying to fix it. I'm gonna have to pull that over to there. Hope I can spray it at the right angle. Alright, let's get on this roof and try to finish this roof. This roof is going to be a big step, I feel, in the cleaning process if we can get it done without too much hassle. I'm trying to think what other books I've read where the hero has their adventure but going home isn't the end of things. I guess for a classic, we've always got the Odyssey. Let's think of the Odyssey for a minute. That's a series of adventures, really, that Odysseus goes through. He dealing with all these various problems on various islands and at sea, and eventually he gets home. And his family's been dealing with all these problems with people basically trying to take over and cause issues while he was gone. And now Odysseus has to deal with the neighbors that have basically turned out to be less than respectful and who are causing some issues. So he goes under. He doesn't just come home and go, "I am Odysseus, and I am the lord of this place still," and all that. He has to. He kind of sneaks in. He pretends to be an old beggar, if I remember right, and then he makes contact with his family and works out how to do some trials to put people back in their place. Of course, being a Greek tragedy down involved a lot of people. Greek tragedy? What does that classify as? Anyway, being the type of story that it is, it ended up resolving into a whole lot of people dying. Because he had to, once he proved who he was, he got revenge on the people that were trying to wreck his family's existence while he was away. So, yeah. He goes, and a lot of people end up getting killed after he reveals, by the way, yeah, I just won that trial to win this conditions you've set here. But also, surprise, I'm Odysseus. These trials you're setting are definitely not something you should have been setting, because my family isn't part of your game, and my family and their possessions are not something you can win. I'm still here. And yeah, that led to all sorts of fun times. And by, like I said, fun times, I believe it revolved him shooting people with a very, very strong bow a lot, and also probably some spear work. Yeah, I believe there was definitely a spear involved, at least for some of it. I don't remember all the details. Been a while since I read the things you do in college and have to read for, well, various reasons. At least that was a decently interesting classic, not one of the dry ones. Some classics are rough. Ooh, I'm stuck on the lid. Alright, not gonna be able to get over that. Alright, there we go. Okay, we got that. This buttress is apparently going to be a pain. Have to get this angle, I think. Ooh, There we go. Okay, we're up here. There we go. Another one of these sides. This is probably the major side. There's one other area down below we had to go on the other side to our right. We'll figure it out. There's that. That figurehead is still missing a spot. I'm going to have to get up onto somewhere to fix it. Yeah, I'm going to have to get a better angle to fix that one at. Alright. And I'd hate to have to do this on a time trial or on a only use so much water trial. This would be so annoying to have to be careful with. Alright. Well, I think I'm kind of worked through a lot of what I wanted to talk about there. And probably then some, because I... Okay, is this metal and rusty? What is this? Wood. Why is this wood not coming clean? I don't think I've had to use a wood cleaner at all. Wood cleaner. Alright. Now that worked. Much better. This is metal though. Alright. But that was also coming clean without that. That should cut there. Okay. Let's do this. Get these windows all scrubbed in. Come on, window frame. Give me. There we go. Give me it. Give it. One more window frame. There we are. Window frame's done. Okay. I'm not sure what was up with that wood. It really wasn't coming clean right off. Wall here is dirty, but that's going all the way down. So that's fine. Alright. Got that piece. Good. I'm trying to think if this is using actual Nordic symbolism or just giving that general air of being like a longhouse temple type deal. But if so, like, what is, like, is there a particular Nord god that this might be related to, or something else? Farming. I'm sure the Nords had some farming god in their pantheon. Who was that? I'm not sure. I don't remember that part of that mythology. Like, yeah, they may not have been necessarily about gardening. It may have been like of nature, the seasons, kind of like with the Greeks. They had a goddess for the seasons, but they also had like some various fertility goddesses, gods and goddesses deals, and yeah, they had a lot of stuff going on with a lot of those things that led to their general pantheon design being what it was. Okay, that's there. That wall is still dirty somewhere. Over here? Aha. There we go. Problem fixed. Yeah, okay, this side of the building I did not get too much yet. That's where most of my problems are still, on this side of the building. On this upper portion of it, anyway. Got the lower areas all around, so that shouldn't be an issue. Let's get this roof. I find the yellow one the yellow spray nozzle in this game tends to be my most, like, all around usable, because the green one only covers a slightly larger area, but it loses just enough pressure to not work quite as well. And I don't know what I'm standing on right now. We're just not going to question it and keep moving on this. There's that. There's that. This barge board is, I think I need it from either the front or different angle at least. Alright, I see. Under there. Over there, under there. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to get down to get this. And okay, let's check our figurehead. Sound's done. This out of the way. This up. Or not. Why are you not fitting? That's annoying. This is really as close as you can get. Well, it's close enough, I guess. As long as I can get it. Clean, we're good. Alright, alright. That's all there, that's all there. Don't see anything else. Oh, wait. That figurehead, that's right. Let's get up there and get that before I forget about it. There we go. We're done with that. We're done with that. Alright, I think it is just that area over there right now. Unless I missed a piece. Which would be real annoying to try to find in this building. There we go. So far, so good. Come on. I'll wrap this up tonight. Come on. Get clean. Thank you. Thank you. We're coming along now. That's great. That's done. That's done. I gotta get under that lip bit. Alright, I'm happy with that. That's done. That Eve is gonna be a bit of a pain. At least until I can get onto the roof portion. Enough to really address it. Oh, I should get this figurehead angled out here a bit. This may not quite work how I want it to. There we go. There we go. Much better. Another part done there. Alright, that's gonna work better if I actually get on the roof itself. I'm gonna have to turn this. Can't really jump off it properly from that angle. There we go. Yeah, this is gonna work out better, I think, in the long run. This. Guess I kind of missed a lower section here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Much better. That gets that all covered. Oh, I missed that figurehead up there, it looks like. Alright, at least I know that's there. I can deal with that later as one of the final wrap-ups. Very likely. Let's address this mess for now. Good. Another part done. Get another angle. Right. Under there. Get above that. We're good. We're good. Jump on over. Ooh, almost screwed that up. Bumped my head on my way down. I saw the way my character moved. I was like, I hit my head on the roof of this as I was jumping. I think I was a little worried I wasn't going to make that jump, and I was going to have to climb all the way back up again. Not that it would be the end of the world, but it would still be, annoying. I'll get under this lip. It's going to be a problem otherwise. Along here, and along this. This roof is still got some spots. There we go. Roof done. That part's done. That part's done. Roof ridge. Let's get along here. Get on top of this. Work along it. Good. Figurehead's done. Excellent. Now for this side. Barge board is done. Done. On these eaves a bit. That wall. Excellent. Another part done. 98%. We're almost there. This place looks pretty nice now that it's cleaned. I love the designs they've chosen for a lot of these items and everything in the game. Like the overall layout and textures are, for the most part, kind of nice. It just gives that nice appeal to, like, oh man, it looks so good now that it's clean. It's that nice little serotonin feed of, good, a job well done. Okay, got that. We got that. This is all done. This is all done. That's all done. Something. This buttress is not done, but it's on that angle. Okay, I need to this over. There we go. That gives me the angle I need. Buttress done. Done, done. Done, done. Okay, ledges to pedestals. Is this a pedestal somewhere? Alright. Well, I know where the figurehead is. Let's just get that done. Figurehead first. Boom. Run all the way up to near the top. Figurehead's done. Alright, so what does it mean by ledge? Where's a ledge? What counts as a ledge on this thing? Ledges and pedestals. Don't see that there. Nope, nope, nope. Ledge. There's a ledge there. Alright. And there's a ledge there. This ledge is not clear. Got it. Oh, I missed the spot there. I see. Thought I got under all these, but I guess I missed the spot. Ledge done. And pedestals. Brazier, pedestal. One of these. Pedestal. Alright, those all seem good. Here we go. This pedestal. Done! Extra cleaning liquid in stock. Thank you. I know it don't sound too enticing, but any chance you can clean up my abandoned washroom? Interesting. Oh man, look at the difference in that. I love it that it doesn't show you my equipment, so it just looks like I'm standing in the air at times. Goodness me, they said you were the best, and now I'm a believer. The temple looks immaculate. That is going to give them such a lift, and I can look forward to many more years of free labor on the farm. Thanks again. Right. Buy all of this while I can. There we go. Oh, I can buy the professional duty. Boom. Everything's a bit stronger that way. Let me just. I guess I can't really test it out. We'll test it out next time, I guess. But nice. So next up is clean the washroom. Oh no. Muckingham, Lee Street, Muckingham. Alright, we'll read this next time. But oh boy, that looks like it's going to be a thing. That's going to be quite the ordeal. Everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this. Comments below if you haven't already. Like, what are some ideas of home encounters you can think of that would be fun for your characters? Help your DM with the world development? Help your characters with development? Any of that stuff. Anything that really works that comes to mind for you that I haven't thought of? I'm sure there's tons of what could be and couldn't be. And like, what are some good ideas you can think of that would make the world more real for your character, for you as you're playing your character? Does that make sense? Otherwise, hit like, hit subscribe to keep up with the releases if you haven't done so already. Thanks so much for watching, and good night, everyone. Bye.